Have you ever played a video game and thought, I wish I could make something like this? That amazing feeling of creating a new world, designing characters, and telling a story is what game programming is all about. It is the art and science of writing the instructions that make a video game work. Think of it like being a director, a writer, and a magician all at once. You are the one who breathes life into the game, making characters move, enemies appear, and stories unfold. Learning game programming is not just about writing code. It is about creating experiences that can bring joy, excitement, and wonder to people all over the world. It is a journey into your own imagination. The excitement of game programming comes from the power to create. You can build anything you can dream of. Do you want to create a fast-paced racing game with futuristic cars? You can do that. Or perhaps you prefer a quiet puzzle game set in a beautiful, mysterious forest? That is possible too. The only limit is your creativity. Every line of code you write adds a new piece to your puzzle, bringing your vision closer to reality. Seeing your ideas come to life on the screen is an incredibly rewarding experience. It is a feeling of accomplishment that is hard to match. And it is what drives many people to start this incredible hobby and even turn it into a career. This guide is designed for absolute beginners. You do not need any prior experience with coding or making games. We will start from the very beginning and walk you through each step of the process in a simple, easy-to-understand way. We will explore what game programming is, the tools you will need, and the basic concepts that form the foundation of every game ever made. Think of this as your personal map to the treasure of game creation. We will break down complex ideas into small, manageable pieces so you never feel overwhelmed. By the end, you will have the knowledge and confidence to start building your very own simple games. The journey of learning game programming is an adventure in itself. It will challenge you to think logically, solve problems creatively, and learn new skills. But it is also a lot of fun. You will join a massive global community of creators who love to share their work, help each other out, and push the boundaries of what is possible. Whether you want to make games just for fun, to share with friends, or to one day work in the professional game industry, the path starts here. So, get ready to unlock your creative potential and take the first step into the amazing world of game programming. Let the adventure begin. To start your journey into game programming, you will need a few basic tools. The most important tool, of course, is a computer. It does not need to be the most powerful or expensive machine on the market. Most modern desktop computers or laptops are more than capable of handling the needs of a beginner game developer. A computer with a decent processor, enough memory, like RAM, and a dedicated graphics card is ideal, but even a standard computer can get you started on smaller two-dimensional projects. The key is to have a machine that you are comfortable using, as you will be spending a lot of time with it. Your computer is your digital workshop, where all the magic happens. Next, you will need a place to write your code. This is done in a special program called an Integrated Development Environment, or IDE. An IDE is like a super-powered notebook for programmers. It helps you write code with features like color coding, which makes your code easier to read. It also has tools that can find mistakes in your code, which is incredibly helpful when you are just starting out. Many game engines, which we will discuss later, come with their own built-in IDEs. For example, Unity uses Visual Studio, and Godot has its own excellent code editor. Choosing the right IDE can make your programming experience much smoother and more enjoyable. Another essential tool is a way to create or find art and sound for your game. Games are visual and auditory experiences, so you will need graphics for your characters, backgrounds, and user interface. You will also need sound effects for actions like jumping or collecting items, and music to set the mood. You do not have to be an artist or a musician to make a game. There are many websites like opengameart.org or kenny.nl that offer free or low-cost assets that you can use in your projects. You can also use simple programs like Aseprite for pixel art or Audacity for sound editing to create your own simple assets. Finally, the most powerful tool you have is your own curiosity and willingness to learn. Game programming can seem daunting at first, but remember that every expert was once a beginner. The internet is your best friend. There are countless tutorials, articles, and video courses available that can teach you everything you need to know. Websites like YouTube, Udemy, and Coursera are filled with resources for aspiring game developers. Having a positive attitude and the patience to work through problems is more valuable than any piece of hardware or software. Your passion for creating games will be the fuel that powers you through the entire learning process. Just like people use different languages to talk to each other, programmers use different programming languages to talk to computers. These languages are the sets of instructions that tell the computer what to do. In game development, there are several popular languages, each with its own strengths and uses. One of the most common languages for beginners is C#. C# is the primary language used with the Unity game engine, which is one of the most popular engines in the world. It is known for being relatively easy to learn, powerful, and versatile, making it an excellent choice for your first language. Another very popular language in the game industry is C++. This language is known for its speed and performance, which is why it is used to create many of the big blockbuster AAA games you see on consoles and PCs. C++ gives the programmer a lot of control over the computer's hardware, but this control comes with more complexity. It is generally considered more difficult to learn than C#, so many beginners choose to start with something else. However, if your goal is to one day work on the biggest games at major studios, learning C++ will be an incredibly valuable skill to have on your journey. For those interested in web-based games or simpler mobile games, JavaScript is a fantastic option. JavaScript is the language of the internet, and it can be used with various game frameworks and engines like Phaser to create games that run directly in a web browser. This means anyone can play your game just by visiting a website without needing to download or install anything. JavaScript is also known for being very beginner-friendly and has a massive community and a wealth of learning resources. It is a great way to make fun, accessible games that you can easily share with your friends and family online. Finally, there is a language called GDScript, which is specific to the Godot game engine. GDScript was designed to be as simple and easy to read as possible. Its syntax is very similar to another popular language called Python, which is famous for its clean and straightforward style. Because GDScript is built directly into the Godot engine, it works seamlessly and makes the process of creating games feel very natural and intuitive. For absolute beginners who might be intimidated by more complex languages, starting with Godot and GDScript can be a wonderful and gentle introduction to the core concepts of game programming and development. Imagine you are building a car. You could start from scratch, creating every single nut, bolt, and wire yourself. Or you could start with a pre-built frame, engine, and wheels, and then focus on designing the body and the interior. A game engine is like that pre-built car frame. It is a powerful software framework that provides all the core technology you need to make a game. This includes systems for rendering graphics, playing sounds, detecting physics, like gravity, and handling player input. Using a game engine saves you a massive amount of time and allows you to focus on the creative parts of your game, like the gameplay, story, and art. One of the most popular game engines, especially for beginners and independent developers, is Unity. Unity is known for its user-friendly interface and its incredible flexibility. You can use it to create almost any kind of game you can imagine, from simple two-dimensional mobile puzzles to complex three-dimensional virtual reality experiences. It has a huge and very active community, which means there are thousands of tutorials, forums, and assets available to help you learn. Unity primarily uses the C# programming language, which, as we discussed, is a great language for beginners to pick up. For these reasons, Unity is often the first choice for people starting their game development journey. Another major player in the world of game engines is Unreal Engine. Developed by Epic Games, the creators of Fortnite, Unreal Engine is famous for its stunning, high-fidelity graphics. It is the engine behind many of the most visually impressive games on the market. Unreal Engine uses a system called Blueprints, which is a visual scripting language. This allows you to create game logic by connecting nodes and wires, almost like drawing a flowchart. This can be a more intuitive way to start for those who are not yet comfortable with writing traditional code. For programmers, it also supports the powerful C++ language for more complex tasks. For those who love open source software, the Godot engine is a fantastic and rapidly growing option. Godot is completely free to use with no royalties or subscription fees. It is lightweight, fast, and has a very clean and intuitive design. Its dedicated programming language, GDScript, is designed to be extremely easy to learn and use. Godot is excellent for making both two-dimensional and three-dimensional games, and it has a passionate and supportive community behind it. Because it is open source, you can even look at its source code to understand how it works. For a beginner who wants a simple, free, and powerful tool, Godot is an amazing choice. The first thing most people notice about a game is, well, how it looks. The graphics, or art, are basically the visual elements that make up your game world. This includes everything you see on the screen: the player character, the enemies, the backgrounds, the items, and even the menus. The art style of a game is super important because it sets the tone and atmosphere. For example, a game with bright, cartoonish graphics is going to feel very different from a game with dark, realistic visuals. Now, as a beginner, you definitely do not need to be a professional artist. You can actually create really effective and charming games using simple shapes, pixel art, or even pre-made assets. Graphics in games are usually divided into two main categories, 2D and 3D. 2D graphics are flat, kind of like a drawing on a piece of paper. Think of classic games like Super Mario Bros. Or, modern indie hits like Stardew Valley. 2D art is often created using sprites, which are just individual images of characters or objects. These sprites can be animated by quickly showing a sequence of different images, sort of like a flipbook. For beginners, starting with a 2D game is highly recommended. The art is simpler to create, and honestly, the programming logic is generally less complex than in a 3D environment. 3D graphics, on the other hand, have depth. They exist in a three-dimensional space, which lets players move around objects and view them from different angles. Think of games like Minecraft or The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. 3D art is made using models, which are virtual objects built from a mesh of polygons. Creating 3D models and environments is a more advanced skill that often needs specialized software like Blender or Maya. While it can be more challenging, building a 3D world offers an incredible sense of immersion and scale that's pretty tough to achieve in 2D. As a new game programmer, your main job will be to write the code that displays and manipulates these graphics. You'll write instructions to load a sprite or a model into the game, place it at a specific position on the screen, and make it move in response to player input or game events. You'll also learn how to manage the camera, which is basically the player's window into the game world. In a 2D game, the camera might scroll to follow the player. In a 3D game, you might give the player full control to rotate the camera and look around. Learning to control the visual elements is a fundamental step in making your game come alive. Section 6. Bringing your game to life, sound and controls. While graphics create the look of your game, sound is what gives it a soul. Imagine playing a game with no sound at all. It would feel empty and lifeless. Sound design is a critical part of creating an immersive experience. It can be broken down into two main types: sound effects and music. Sound effects are short audio clips that are tied to specific actions in the game. The ding when you collect a coin, the whoosh of a sword swing, or the boom of an explosion all provide important feedback to the player. They make the game world feel more interactive and real. Music, on the other hand, is the soundtrack of your game. It sets the emotional tone for a scene or level. A fast, high-energy track can make a boss battle feel more intense and exciting. A slow, gentle melody can make a peaceful village feel calm and welcoming. A mysterious ambient tune can make a dark cave feel spooky and dangerous. As a programmer, you will write code to trigger the right sound effect at the right time and to play different musical tracks depending on the player's location or the current situation in the game. Even simple sounds and music can dramatically improve how your game feels to play. Next, let's talk about controls. The controls are the player's connection to the game world. They are the tools you give the player to interact with everything you have built. Whether it is pressing arrow keys to move a character, clicking the mouse to shoot, or tapping the screen on a mobile device, the controls must be responsive and intuitive. If the controls feel clunky or confusing, players will quickly become frustrated. Good control design is about making the player feel like they are in direct command of their character or vehicle, with no delay or awkwardness. Your job as the programmer is to listen for the player's input and translate it into action within the game. This involves writing code that constantly checks if a key has been pressed, if the mouse has been moved, or if a finger is touching the screen. When your code detects an input, it then calls the appropriate function to make something happen. For example, if the spacebar is pressed, your code might tell the player character's object to jump. Designing and programming smooth, satisfying controls is one of the most important skills you can develop, as it is absolutely fundamental to making a game that is fun to play. Section 7. The brains of the operation game: logic and AI. At the very core of every game is its logic. Game logic is the set of rules and systems that govern how the game works. It is the brain of your creation, making all the decisions and keeping track of everything that happens. This includes the rules of the game, like how many points you get for collecting an item, how much damage an enemy attack does, or what happens when you reach the end of a level. It also includes tracking the game's state, such as the player's score, their health, the number of lives they have left, and their position in the game world. Writing the game logic is the essence of game programming. A major part of game logic is creating systems that manage interactions between different game objects. This is often handled by a physics system, which is usually part of the game engine. The physics system simulates real-world forces like gravity, friction, and collisions. You will use it to make your character fall back to the ground after jumping, or to detect when a player's bullet has hit an enemy. You will write code to define how objects should behave when they collide. Does the enemy disappear? Does the player take damage? Does a door open? These interaction rules are what make the game world feel dynamic and responsive. Another exciting part of game logic is artificial intelligence, or AI. In single-player games, AI is what controls the non-player characters, especially the enemies. It is the code that makes them seem intelligent and challenging. Even simple AI can make a game much more interesting. For example, you could program an enemy to simply walk back and forth on a platform. A slightly more advanced AI might chase the player if they get too close. A smarter AI could patrol an area, hide behind cover, and work together with other enemies to create a real challenge for the player. Creating game logic and AI is like being a puzzle master. You are constantly solving small problems and fitting the pieces together to create a larger, functioning system. You will use conditional statements, like if the player's health is 0, then show the game over screen, and loops, like for every enemy on screen, move them one step closer to the player. This is where you will spend most of your time as a game programmer. It is a deeply creative process that combines logical thinking with imaginative design to build the rules and behaviors that make your game unique and fun. Section 8. Starting your first project. A simple plan. Now that you understand the basic components of a game, it is time to think about starting your very first project. The most important piece of advice for any beginner is to start small. Very small. It can be tempting to want to build a massive, complex game as your first project, but this often leads to frustration and giving up. Your goal for your first game is not to create a masterpiece, but to learn the entire process from start to finish. A simple, completed game is infinitely more valuable than a huge, unfinished one. Choose a classic, simple game concept to recreate. A great first project is to make a copy of a classic arcade game like Pong or Breakout. These games have very simple rules and mechanics. In Pong, you have 2 paddles and a ball. The goal is to hit the ball past your opponent. This simple concept will teach you many fundamental skills. You will learn how to handle player input to move the paddles, how to program the ball's movement logic, how to detect collisions between the ball and the paddles or walls, and how to keep score. Finishing a project like this will give you a huge confidence boost and a solid foundation to build upon. Let's outline a simple plan for your first project. First, set up your development environment by choosing a game engine like Godot or Unity and installing it. Second, break the game down into the smallest possible tasks. For Pong, this might be create a screen, draw 1 paddle, make the paddle move up and down with keyboard input, draw the ball, make the ball move, make the ball bounce off the walls, and so on. Focus on completing just one tiny task at a time. This step-by-step approach makes the project feel much less overwhelming and helps you see your progress clearly. As you work through your list of tasks, do not be afraid to look for help. No one expects you to know everything right away. Find a beginner-friendly tutorial on YouTube or a blog that walks you through creating the type of game you have chosen. Follow along with the tutorial, but also try to experiment and change things. Can you make the ball move faster? Can you change the colors of the paddles? This process of following along and then experimenting on your own is one of the most effective ways to learn. Remember, the goal is to finish the project and learn as much as you can along the way. Section 9. Your journey begins. Learning and growing. Congratulations on taking your first steps into the world of game programming. You have learned what it is, what tools you need, and the basic building blocks of a game. But this is just the beginning of a long and exciting journey. The key to becoming a good game programmer is to never stop learning. The world of technology is always changing, with new engines, new techniques, and new ideas appearing all the time. Stay curious, keep practicing, and embrace the mindset of a lifelong learner. Your skills will grow with every line of code you write and every problem you solve. One of the best ways to keep learning is to connect with the wider game development community. There are countless online forums, social media groups, and community servers where developers of all skill levels gather. Websites like Reddit have communities such as r/GameDev, and the Discord platform has official servers for Unity, Godot, and many other game development topics. Joining these communities is a fantastic way to ask questions when you get stuck, share your progress to get feedback, and see what other people are creating. You will find that people are incredibly friendly and willing to help a beginner. Another powerful learning strategy is to consistently work on small projects. After you finish your first game, think of another simple idea and build it. A good practice is to participate in game jams. A game jam is an event where developers try to make a new game from scratch in a limited amount of time, like a weekend. This forces you to work quickly, focus on a core idea, and actually finish a project. It is an amazing way to practice your skills, try out new ideas, and build a portfolio of small, completed games. Websites like itch.io host hundreds of game jams throughout the year. Most importantly, remember to have fun. You started this journey because you love games and you have a passion for creating. Do not let the challenges and frustrations overshadow that joy. Celebrate your small victories, whether it is fixing a difficult bug or finally getting a character to jump correctly. Share your creations with friends and family and enjoy seeing them play something you made. Game programming is a marathon, not a sprint. Be patient with yourself. Keep building, keep learning, and keep dreaming. The world is waiting to play the games that only you can create.